Right, Susan? Yep. Okay. Welcome everyone, it's 5:30, so welcome to the Ordinary Council meeting of Dubbo Regional Council. I advise that this meeting is being streamed live to the internet. All those present should refrain from making any defamatory statements, and upon joining these online meetings, you accept the condition that your image may be recorded and streamed to the internet, as well as being retained in the archive of the recorded council meetings and standing committee meetings. I now officially open the February 2023 Ordinary Council meeting of Council, the time being 5:30pm. Can I have Councillor Goff do the prayer, please?
O God, grant that by the knowledge of thy will, all we may resolve shall work together for good. We pray through Jesus Christ our Lord.
Amen. Just bear with me 1 second, Councillor Goff. I've just got to put someone downstairs to get in for the council meeting. Thanks, Susan. That's right. So it's got someone to say downstairs waiting to get in. Okay, thank you. Next item on the agenda is acknowledgement of country. Could I have Councillor Burns do that, please?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I'd like to acknowledge the Wiradjuri people who are the traditional custodians of the land, but also like to pay respect to elders past, present and emerging of the Wiradjuri nation, and extend that respect to other Aboriginal people from other nations.
Councillor Burns. Next item is leave of absence. I've got no councillors away at the moment, so there's no need for leave of absence. Conflicts of interest, CCL 23/2. Any conflicts of interest on the agenda tonight, councillors? No, being none, I move on. The next item on the agenda is public forum, CCL 23/03, and I've got several speakers registered here tonight, so I'll go through those in the order that I've got them, which I think is the order that would have been registered in. And just remind speakers from the public as I call them forward, you've got 5 minutes to speak at the microphone. At 4 minutes and 30 seconds, I'll ding my glass so you can hear. Actually, I think I've got a bell on here. I'll actually use the bell. So at 4 minutes 30, you'll hear the bell. That means you've got 30 seconds to wind up. And then at 5 minutes, I'll ask you to sit down. And I'll just remind members of the public that this is really somewhere for you to put any views forward you'd like to view in obviously a considered and reasonable way. It's not a chance for debate with councillors. It really is designed for you to present your ideas in that 5 minute time frame, and then we move on to the next speaker. So sometimes people from the public get disappointed that we don't then answer all their questions, but it's not designed for that. It's really just designed for us to hear you. So the first item, or the first speaker I've got registered, is Graham Whiteley. Graham, if you'd like to come forward. I'll start your 5 minutes and the floor is yours. Thank you, Graham.
That there is a new entrance to the pool. Item number 2, the heating of the leisure pool and the toddler splash pool. The heating in the leisure pool has not been working since January last year. This has led to a drop-off in attendance at the end of last season and has also affected attendance during the 2023 season. This pool is used widely for exercise and particularly for rehab, also leisure and learn to swim. The toddler splash pool should also, in our opinion, be heated, but it is fairly chilly for young kids. This means it's not utilised to its potential. Item number 3, the length of the swimming season is different for the two aquatic centres, Dubbo and Wellington. This seems inequitable. According to Council's website, the Dubbo pool closes on the 23rd of April and the Wellington pool a month earlier on the 26th of March. Both pools opened on the same date and should close on the same date. There was an extension for the Dubbo pool in 2022, which was a trial. The season pass expires on the 1st of May 2023, so I ask Council to extend the Wellington season for the month of April in line with Dobbo. Item number 4, shade and seating. There is very little shade and seating in the pool complex. Given that Australia has one of the highest rates of skin cancer in the world, and all community facilities need to provide adequate shade structures, particularly in our summer recreation facilities. The pool is open during the hottest months of the year. Families and residents who are using the pool for leisure need to be able to protect themselves from the sun. The pool does not invite people to stay for an extended period due to the lack of seating with adequate shade. There is some low-level seating provided in the area between the leisure pool and the toddler splash pool, but there is no shade structure to this area, so it is rarely utilised. In conclusion, the Wellington Aquatic Centre is a much-loved and valued facility in our community. The above are just a few suggestions on how the facility could be improved, both for our community and visitors to Wellington. Thank you. From Rosalie Whiteley.
Thank you, Graham. The next speaker on the agenda is Mark Griggs, representing the Wellington Australia Day Committee. So, Mr. Griggs, if you'd like to come forward, please. And I did fail to mention it, sorry, Mr. Whiteley, but the microphone, just make sure that light's on. Mr. Griggs, when you come forward, and that means that the remote people can hear you as well.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor and councillors and staff, thank you very much. Very, very quick. It's just I wanted to just take a few seconds of your time to personally thank you and councillors for allowing Wellington to have its own Australia Day committee once again. This does really mean something to me personally, and I respect the whole community, suspect rather, the whole community of the Greater Wellington region. Special thanks to yourself, Mr. Mayor, and the Deputy Mayor, Richard Ivey, who I am sure pushed the establishment of the Wellington Zone Committee within Council. Once again, thank you, and I hope this will continue in years to come, each year to come. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Griggs. The next speaker we have is Michael Orgy. Michael, if you'd like to come forward, speaking about the Wellington Caves. And again, the red light's on, so the time is yours.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, councillors, staff, ladies and gentlemen. The caves are essential to Wellington. They actually define the town. People outside Wellington know it as the town with the caves. If it wasn't for that, we would be the funny little town on the way to Dubbo. Before amalgamation, 64,000 people a year visited the caves. Many of them spent time and money, of course, in Wellington. So, of course, they're significant to Wellington. They have a much greater significance. The first fossils discovered in Australia were discovered in 1830 by Thomas Mitchell out at the Wellington Caves. They made a huge splash internationally, and in fact research has continued since that day. The University of New South Wales did research here from the 80s to the 90s. That research now is being done by Flinders University from South Australia, which just indicates the importance of these deposits much further than just New South Wales. In fact, they're internationally important. All of this research, of course, gets published internationally. Since I've lived in Wellington, we've had visits from paleontologists from the United States, from France, England, Czechoslovakia, and Chile, because of the importance of these fossils. The science from the Wellington Caves, including study of the caves themselves, speleology, the study of the movement of water, of hydrology, of course, to me, is absolutely fascinating. But it has another importance because it's what makes Wellington Caves special. And they are special. You know, tourist caves have nice stalactites and stalagmites, and in that case, Wellington Caves are fairly mediocre. But again, they are special because there are things you can do there you can't do anywhere else. I mean, where else could you walk in a tunnel through clay that's 500,000 years old and actually see the bones of extinct megafauna in the walls? I mean, what a fantastic experience. It's also a tremendous educational facility. And in the past, students from the University of New South Wales, Newcastle University, various high schools, earth and environmental science students have done field trips to the caves, stayed at the caves, usually 1 or 2 nights. So the important thing is that this magnificent facility is on a Crown Reserve. And you, particularly the councillors, are in fact the managers of a Crown Reserve. And there are certain obligations that you have because of the Crown Lands Management Act. And I will quote briefly: environmental protection principles must be observed, conservation of water, flora, fauna, and scenic quality. Management must ensure that the land and its resources are sustained for perpetuality. Sounds like a very big job. And how do councillors meet these obligations? Well, councillors make policy, and they need to make policy that ensures that these obligations are being met. And as councillors, you also have a role in ensuring they are implemented and followed. It's difficult because the science of managing karst, and karst is a lovely word that includes the caves and the limestone, they're really one unit, is a very specific and nowadays a very technological discipline. Dubbo Regional Council has no staff members that are competent in karst management. Wellington Council didn't either, but Wellington Council solved the problem by having an advisory committee that consisted of the manager of Jenolan Caves, the karst officer from National Parks and Wildlife, an officer from the Australian Museum, a paleontologist, geologist, people from the Department of Lands, to advise on karst management. Another possible way, of course, is to have some staff at the cave, at least one person who actually is competent in karst management. Just perhaps the next appointment that is made might be a karst person rather than yet another administrator. So it's a big ask, isn't it? Conservation, maintaining and sustaining, etc., etc. But the outcome is worth the effort. It is worth the effort, councillors, because the caves are an essential resource for the Wellington community. Not only that, you are the keepers of a facility that is of international importance. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Orji. The next speaker I've got is Kavina Unwin. And thank you, Ms. Unwin. And speaking about Cameron Park, so the microphone is yours.
Thank you very much. My name's Kavina Unwin. So Lord Mayor, Deputy Lord Mayor, DRC councillors and staff. I'd like to introduce my topic by providing examples of the well-respected and known psychologist Carl Jung from his book, Man and His Symbols. Symbolism is the idea that things represent other things. By that, we can look at something, let's say, the colour red, and conclude that red represents not the colour red itself, but something beyond it. For example, a stop sign, love, devotion, or a warning. Over the holiday season, I hosted several visitors to my home in Wellington. Always glad to visit me here, my passion for living in Wellington. My visitors ask, why is the historic Wellington Fountain not operating, considering it was built in 1912 and is a symbol of attraction when people arrive in our community? I ask myself, why is the fountain dry in the middle of summer? Getting back to symbolism, water is a symbol of life. So what does a dry fountain symbolise to tourists, visitors and the residents of Wellington? So my question is, why is our fountain not operating in our beautiful Cameron Park? Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Unwin. The next speaker I have is Mr. Mark Conn. So, Mr. Conn, if you want to come forward.
Thank you, Mayor, councillors and council staff for giving me this opportunity to say a few words. I'd really like to thank the Australia Day Committee and what they did. Obviously, the council worked closely with the community, and the consultation between those two, between the council and the committee, made a very successful event, and hopefully it'll only become a bigger and better event in the future. I'd also like to thank the council staff, the CEO and some senior staff members and the Mayor and the Deputy Mayor for coming out to the northeastern community north of Wellington, out to the Comabella Hall here the other week, and addressed the community. They actually came and spoke to us in October when we had the Mitchell Creek crossing destroyed by the flooding, and they went back, did their homework, got consultants, and got the project up and running. We've had a few little stumbling blocks on the way, however, we've seen positive outcomes, and there's some good news that came out late this afternoon, which might be released down the track, which is absolutely wonderful. And it's just been wonderful to have that opportunity to consult with the council, and we appreciate that. Thank you very much. Another good news story is the Wellington Aerodrome received $350,000 from the federal government, and in this round 3 program, and I think that's wonderful news. We've got even new projects going on out there, as people might be aware of. It's been spoken about, and council also releasing and letting people able to build and develop hangars there in the future. And this $350,000 will go a long way to make this aerodrome a very viable aerodrome and what it was actually put there for. And same thing again, if we could have that great consultation between the council, the community, we'll have another great project up and running. It'd be greatly appreciated. And thank you very much for that.
Thank you, Mr. Conn. That's all the registered speakers we have, but as per our code of meeting practice, if there is time, which there still is at the moment, we're still within our 30 minutes, and anyone else would like to come forward and speak, then you can do so. Again, the same rules, just come forward, state your name, and you've got the 5 minutes to speak if you'd wish to. So are there any other people who'd like to come forward? Come forward, sir, and just come to the microphone, state your name and the general topic, and the floor is yours. Thank you.
My name is Peter Wikes. I'm from the southern end of Eucarina area. I just wanted to bring to attention our roads in our area, like lots of others, are really in a very, very bad condition. And we would like to see some assistance with some planning as to how we could solve some of the problems. A lot of them would not be difficult to solve, but we're not seeing anyone come and go, and it's a pretty sad situation. I apologise, my page, apparently there's a big flood going on in Dubbo, so it's telling me we need assistance up there on my bushfire page. Just wanted to say that, and the spirits of people in our area are very low because they feel that they've just been forgotten, and they're just feeling that they're not getting any attention at all. General comments are that we're just left off the block altogether. And I don't want to make a big complaint, but I'd just like to register with council. I drove up to do that. And thanks very, very much for the opportunity to bring that forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Wikes. And still, we've got time within our public forum allocation, so if there are any other people from the public forum who'd like to come forward and speak, then do so now. No more. Thank you for coming along, and I do appreciate when we do get into the gallery. Now with streaming, we don't get as many people attend in the public gallery in the flesh, so it's great to see people come along. Next item on the agenda is CCL 23/04, confirmation of minutes. Can someone move that way, please? Thank you, Councillor Showery, seconded by Councillor Goff. Any discussion or debate, councillors? There being none, I put that. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. I've lost Matt. He's got a very serious councillor right there. Very serious looking councillor right there, frozen now. Okay, so what we'll just do, we'll just pause there for a moment, councillors. And okay, so I've got Councillor Wright on the phone here on speakerphone. So, and Councillor Wright, if you do need, obviously I can't see you put your hand up. If you do need to say something, just make a loud noise, and I'll go to you. Righto, thank you, councillors, and obviously Ms. Way will just see if there's a reboot process she can do there. And I'll just actually ask the CEO, do we have a requirement that we have to stream? Is that a legal requirement? So do we have to stop the meeting while we get streaming back up and going, or can we continue? Are we legally allowed to continue the meeting without live streaming? But, I'll make an executive decision, then we'll continue on the meeting rather than wait, because with the storms that are around at the moment, it is an unknown how long that might be out for, so it really is unknown how long we might have to wait for. So we'll continue on with the assurance that we're still recording, Ms. Wade, and then obviously be able to post that meeting afterwards. But thank you. Next item on the agenda is CCL 23/05, exercise of the Mayor's function under Section 226D of the Local Government Act relating to airport security screening. Can I have someone move that way, please? Thank you, Councillor Etheridge, seconded by Councillor Burns. Any discussion or debate, councillors? Councillor Ivey. Thank you, Councillor Ivey, and again, it's not something that's utilised very often by, well, any mayors, I would say, but certainly this mayor isn't going to use that very often. And I will just remind councillors just to use their microphone when they are speaking as well, so that that's recorded clearly for the records. Thank you, Councillor Ivey. Any other questions or debate, councillors? There being none, I put that. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. Next item is CCL 23/06, mayoral appointments and meetings. Now, if someone move that way, please. Thank you, Councillor Chowdhury, seconded by Councillor Ivey. Any discussion or debate, councillors? Being none, I put that. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. CCL 23/07, building summary, December and January 2023. Can I have someone move that way, please? Thank you. Good to see you back, Councillor Wright. Someone move that way, please. Councillor Etheridge, seconded by Councillor Burns. Any discussion or debate on that, councillors? There being none, I put that. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. Now, I will just, Ms. Wade, we're back live streaming now, I assume, as well. Right. Okay, thank you. So I was going to give a message to people out there who are watching the live stream, but they're not going to hear me anyway if I give them that message, are they? So. Right. Okay, thank you. Next item, CCL 23/08, investment under Section 65 of the Local Government Act. Can I have someone move that way, please? Thank you, Councillor Etheridge, seconded by Councillor Wells. Any discussion or debate, councillors? There being none, I put that. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. And the next one, a similar one for January, CCL 23/09, investment at Section 65 of the Government Act for January. Have that moved. Thank you, Councillor Wells, seconded by Councillor Black. Any discussion or debate, councillors? Being none, I put that. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. CCL 23/10, report of the Aquatics Working Party meeting on the 16th of January. Move Councillor Black, seconded by Councillor Chowdhury. Do you wish to speak to that, Councillor Black?
Only very briefly.
Yes.
It was a very productive meeting, councillors. There was a very interesting discussion in the general comment section about the need for indoor swimming pool in Dubbo and how that might look. And there was a motion moved to bring that forward to another meeting to look at previous plans and government funding options, and it was really good that people got to have their say. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Black. Any other discussion or debate, councillors? No, there being none, I put that. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. Now we have notices of motion. Next one, CCL 23/11, donations of park benches, moved by Councillor Goff. Thank you, Councillor Goff, seconded by Councillor Burns. Councillor Goff, do you wish to speak to that?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just briefly, I put this notice of motion forward for council to perhaps look at the possibility of putting together a policy for members of the public to either donate or park benches / trees in recognition of someone or a group that have done great things for the community.
Thank Councillor Goff, and we do certainly get some requests from time to time of people who want to do something along those lines, which have previously been considered on an ad hoc basis, so having a policy would make a lot of sense. Any other speakers on this particular notice of motion, councillors? Any other discussion or debate? Councillor Ivey.
Yes, Mr Mayor. As I understand it, Councillor Goff, you're saying that that would be the policy, not that the council would pay for it. Whoever was in favour of putting a bench there would be responsible for the payment, but we would facilitate the approval for that to happen.
Correct. Thank you, Councillor Ivey, that question. Councillor Goff, if you'd... sorry, I'll just get Councillor Goff to formally answer that question. I know you said correct then, but do you want to expand on that and just give Councillor Ivey a formal response to that?
Through you, Mr Mayor. My idea is that the person donating said tree/bench would then be the one to pay for the donation, but in lines with policy that council sets, so being a type of style, being certain words used on the plaque, etc.
Thank you, Councillor Goff. Councillor Wright.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Look, happy to support that particular policy. I guess my concern will be with respect to that ongoing maintenance, how that police, how to monitor. I'm sure that will be set out in that policy that council might adopt, but that would be my only concern.
Yeah, thank you, Councillor Ivey. And I think the ability here for council to produce a report, or CEO to produce a report, to basically go through and look at those options, and then when it comes back to council, we can make decisions on exactly what that policy looks like. Further questions or debate, councillors? Councillor Goff, you have a right of reply if you wish to.
No, thank you, Mr Mayor.
Thank you. So we have the motion before us. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. Next item, 23/12, motion for National Local Government Conference from Councillor Chowdhury. Councillor Chowdhury, we should move that way. So moved, seconded by Councillor Goff. Councillor Chowdhury, you should speak to that motion.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I brought this notice of motion because at this moment we have a migration issue, and federal government and state government both working together. But we have a lot of regional issues that been regionally can identified and can be solved with the help of government through the council. So I think through this notice of motion, if government can take action and ask council can provide some report and help them to get some data, so that way they can get the correct action to help this migration process smoothly. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Chowdhury. Do we have any other speakers? Councillor Black.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Yes, I'm happy to support Councillor Chowdhury's motion. Anything that council can do to advocate for greater resourcing around our whole migration effort to get people into these regional areas. We're the closest to the people of the three tiers of government. We really need to be there helping to advocate for housing, education, transport, health and other services, and we really need a whole of government approach. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Black. Further discussion or debate on this particular motion, councillors? And Councillor Chowdhury, just as an additional matter, myself and the CEO were in Canberra yesterday meeting with various members of government, and one of the members of government we spoke to was the Honourable Andrew Giles MP, who's the Minister for a range of things including immigration, and we actually did make mention to him of the fact that we've got lots of people coming to our region from different areas of the world that need more support, so to hold on to them. And so he wasn't aware of it, but he certainly was interested in the discussion around that and what the federal government might be able to do to help retain some of those people. So we talked about a few things with him, but that was one of the items that he certainly was very interested in, and I think something that you'll follow up on. So that'll be good to bring that up at the National General Assembly as well. Thank you, Councillor. Right of reply if you wish to what Councillor Black said. There's probably not much in that. Oh, good. Thank you. No further discussion, councillors. I put that. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. Next item is 23/13, amendments to the Dubbo DCP 2013 and Wellington DCP 2013, provisions for outbuildings, sheds and garages. Can someone move that, please? Thank you, Councillor Ivey, seconded by Councillor Etheridge. Any discussion or debate, councillors? Councillor Ivey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Could I just ask, perhaps through the CEO, that a brief description be made on what is involved with this change, with these changes? I think this might be handy to have that on the record as far as live streaming, and also perhaps make sure that the councillors are right up to speed with it.
Certainly, Councillor Ivey, to the CEO, to Mr. Wallace.
Essentially, the large size of the sheet version is set back all down the boundary. We break that down to 6 miles. 13 metres proposed. That accounts for bore height. Essentially, I think the aim of the
Wallace, further, Councillor Ivey?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. And just another follow-up on that. Are the provisions will be identical between Dubbo and Wellington?
Exactly.
Thank you, Councillor Ivey. Through the CEO to Mr. Wallace. Anything further, Councillor Ivey? Any other questions or debate, councillors, in relation to that? The only additional one I'd ask, Mr. Wallace, is the difference to how it is now. In other words, the difference in terms of the setback that might be required in terms of the height, or is it something that, because those two are variable, the higher it is, the bigger the setback might be, it's hard to give a direct comparison to the current policy?
So currently there's the staff make assessments based on the scenarios and situations, just this back guidance. So we're noting that the knowledge design parameters why sheds is assessment on the day that's specific.
Any further questions or debate, councillors? There being none, I put that. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. Next item, councillors, 23/14, draft council-related development application conflict of interest policy. This, just keep in mind, this is a decision to put this policy on public exhibition for 28 days, so no decision to actually go forward. With that, it's just to put it on public exhibition. So can I have someone move that way, please? Thank you, Councillor Wells, seconded by Councillor Black. Any discussion or debate, councillors? There being none, I put that. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. Next item, CCL 23/15, planning proposal R22/005, 13L Narromine Road, proposed amendments to land use zone and minimum lot size. Can someone move that way, please? Thank you, Councillor Ivey, seconded by Councillor Black. Discussion or debate, councillors? Councillor Ivey.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Look, as I understand it, that is a proposal to change the use which will increase the availability of housing stock in that particular area of western Dubbo, which can only have some advantages. I have had a look at this, and we talked about it some time ago, last year at one of the council meetings, and it seemed to have just all advantages without any real disadvantages. advantages. So in that sense, it can only be a positive for the area, I would have thought.
And we do know, Councillor Ivey, that more housing stock and more affordable housing stock are certainly two issues that Dubbo Regional Council is trying to address, because we've got lots of people who want to move to our area. So that's a good outcome from that perspective. But also, being a greenfield site makes it much more palatable, so you haven't got residents who have already moved into an area and then suddenly things change on them before the development starts. So I think you're right. It seems to have lots of good outcomes, and I really can't see any negative outcomes from that. So anyway, any other discussion, councillors? There being none, I put that. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. Next item is CCL 23/16, the 2023 New South Wales Touch Football Junior State Cup Dubbo. And so I'll move that way, please. Thank you, Councillor Wells. Seconded by Councillor Wright. Just, if you want to speak to that particular motion, Councillor Wells? Okay. Discussion or debate, councillors, on this particular one? Councillor Wright.
But just a quick comment with respect to that. Obviously, this is a pretty substantial event that we're going to be hosting in the city in just a fortnight's time, and there's going to be sports event. It's a local festival, so there's going to be obviously discussing about what that means will be over that period of time. Great opportunity to grasp it, run with it. Great to see doing it. Brings some fantastic economic benefits. So, and they're giving it the benefit for that short period of time.
Any other questions, Councillor Ivey?
Yes, Mr Mayor. 7,000 visitors. What's the accommodation position? Is there enough accommodation in Dubbo, or some of those visitors having to go to some of the surrounding areas, surrounding townships?
Yeah, certainly a couple of things there. Obviously, that's taken up pretty much all Dubbo's accommodation. There's about 5,000 beds that we have in Dubbo, and then there's a few extra things that are happening. People are around or are going to areas around the area, so Narromine's obviously benefiting. Wellington will benefit. It might even be as far away as Gilgandra will benefit from that, potentially even Parks. But also our staff are working with the New South Wales Touch Association to see if there's opportunities there for people to stay in people's homes, to see what other accommodation is there. So again, working as much as we can with our community and the New South Wales Touch Association to try and facilitate the accommodation, because you're right, that's more than we can handle, but we want to retain as many of those people in our community as possible. So I think it'll be a good outcome, and I think 7,000 is pushing it, but I think we'll be able to do it. Any other questions or debate, councillors? Councillor Black.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just to note that this is a huge sporting event for Dubbo, and it will be held over 2 sites, at least there, so that's something to note the current master planning process on at the moment. Thank you.
Yeah, and I think it'll mainly be that Lady Cutler area there and those sporting fields. I think the region knows there's about 30 sporting fields from memory there. So again, that's one of Dubbo's strengths, is the ability to hold large events like that, because we've got so many sporting fields in close proximity. So good for future events and good for some of the past events we've had. Other discussion? Councillor Wells.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I suppose I did want to add that it is the Junior State Cup for New South Wales, and that it's open to the public, so we want people of Dubbo and surrounding areas to come and watch some of the talent in the juniors down there. There are some really, I think, growing elite players amongst the junior teams, and it's coming off the back of a tournament that happened in Nelson Bay last weekend, where the results for teams for Dubbo were probably the best results that they've ever seen. So just seeing that eliteness growing through the young people is really impressive, and I would hope that residents of Dubbo would come down and watch as well. Thank you.
Yeah, good point, Councillor Wells. And it is, as you said, free entry, so anyone can go down there and have a look at some great talent around there. So fantastic. Okay, any other discussion or debate, councillors? There being none, I put that. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. 23/17, the 2023 Wellington Vintage Fair Street Parade. Can someone move that way, please? Thank you, Councillor Ivey. Seconded, Councillor Goff. Discussion or debate, councillors? Councillor Ivey.
I'd just like to use this opportunity, Mr Mayor, to congratulate the organisers of the Vintage Fair, in particular the Rotary Club, who just do a fantastic job. For those that have been to a previous Vintage Fair or the street parade on a Saturday, it's great fun. It really is. It's quite informative. It's just good. It's a great community event, and it attracts a lot of visitors. And certainly, from a community's point of view, we are really grateful to the organisers, in particular, as I say, the Rotary Club, for taking it on. It's not an easy job. It's a big event. Even just doing the traffic management plan, which we're talking about now, is a major undertaking, and I think we as a council are very in debt to organisations such as the organisers of the Vintage Fair, because that's what makes our community so fantastic. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councillor Ivey. Any other discussion or debate, councillors? Being none, I put that. All those in favour? Councillor Wright. Thank you, Councillor Wright. And against? And carried. Thank you. CCL 23/18, Water and Sewer Fee Harmonisation. Can someone move that, please? Thank you, Councillor Black. Seconded by Councillor Chowdhury. Councillor Black, do you wish to speak to that?
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just briefly, just to say that under the examples and proposals in the council papers, that basically it would work out about the same for everyone. There would only be a few dollars difference. Possibly later, if this is adopted, nobody needs to panic. Thank you. On most cases.
Thank you, Councillor Black. Any other discussion or debate, councillors? Councillor Wright.
Mr Mayor, just through you to the CEO, maybe could you give us an idea what sort of consultation there'll be with regards to the community, what sort of discussions will have with the community? I note that there'll be a large increase for some of those commercial premises. I'm just wondering if you can explain what sort of consultation there'll be.
Thanks, Councillor Wright. What I might just do, we have got a presentation to have in relation to this, and I was going to take a few questions first, but that may be answered in the presentation, and I'll just double check that that is something that, yep. So what I might do, I might just hold your question there, Councillor Wright. I'll just ask Ms Maxwell to do a presentation, and then we'll go to further questions, but I'll just make sure that's up on screen, and that should be able to be seen by live stream, hopefully. I think you... Okay, so you can scratch your face now, mate.
Thank you. So I just here this evening to talk about the proposed harmonisation of the water and sewer charges for 2023-24. As the council is aware, the existing pricing regimes for water and sewer charges for Dubbo and Port Wellington Council have continued since council merged with CPF by increase each financial year. We're looking to consider changes for the 2023-24 structure to achieve harmonisation and effectively charge the same price for water and sewer across the full local government area. Considering those structures, we're trying to ensure that we've got equitable prices for all residences and businesses across the full local government area, and we'll be engaging with the community prior to consideration of the draft operational plan for 2023-24 to give the community time to consider those options. What we have there is the current 2022-2023 charging structures to highlight some of the differences that we have with the existing charging structures. So Wellington has, and this is the water usage, so Wellington has an inclining tariff water structure. So the tariffs are 0 to 300, 300 to 500, 500 to 10,000 and above 10,000 kilolitres. Notably there, the majority of customers actually use less than 300 kilolitres per year. And also is the fact that both the inclining tariff for residential and non-residential prices are set at different prices per kilolitre. And also of note is that the $2.22 per kilolitre, and that's for all water consumption. So that's been in place for many years. Dubbo has had a combined tariff. So that's the difference between Wellington. And also there is, as I said, just the quantity of customers and various tariffs for residential, but also for commercial properties. You'll note there is also the majority use less than 300 kilolitres of water in commercial properties. So just an example of what that actually means. We look at the water examples there for 2022-23. So in the first table, it's usage of 250 kilolitres. So the access charge is significantly higher in Wellington. It's $450.
Okay, and recording. Okay, so I'll reopen. Can we just get the cricket up, please? I want to check the score. Okay, so the meeting is now opened again at 6:26 p.m. Apologise for the slight adjournment there with a lack of power, and we'll get back up where Ms. Maxwell was into her presentation. Get back to where that was, and Ms. Maxwell can resume from where you are. But, so I'll hand back over to Ms. Maxwell to continue on her presentation. Thank you. Wonderful. Thank you.
Just highlighting the differences between the Dubbo and Wellington structure for properties with various usage, annual usage per year. So done there are comparisons of properties that use 250 kilolitres, 500 kilolitres and 750 kilolitres of water to highlight the fact that with the existing charging structures, the Wellington properties pay a higher price per kilolitre and also have higher access charge, so that access charge is $4.56 for a 24 metre, whereas in Dubbo it's $293.56, and then there is the inclining tariff for water. So that's just to highlight the difference, which you can see that to be in the 24 metre using 750 kilolitres a year to be an additional 300% water charges for Wellington. So if we just move on to the sewer, the residential sewer charges are highlighted there for the existing charging structures for the Wellington and Dubbo charging structure. As you can see there, the residential sewer charge in Dubbo is $835.88, and the charge for property in Wellington connected to the sewer is $732.43. So that's a difference that you have there. Also of note is that Wellington has various charges in the structure for different villages, and also a lower charge for unoccupied properties, where the Dubbo has two charges, one for residential dwelling and one for a residential front, which is a half charge up the front. Okay, so if we look at some sewer examples, as it's stated, the Dubbo property is $835.88, the Wellington property is $732.43, so it's $3 less. Also of note, and where some of the biggest changes are in the proposed harmonised charging structure, is the non-residential properties. So just as an example there, the non-residential property in Dubbo had a 32 metre connection and used 5,500 kilolitres, which is quite high usage, but that throughout the 440 accounts that would total up to $13,690. But at the same property with a 32 metre connection is the same quantity of water in Wellington, the charges would come to $6,383 with a $7,300 difference. Also highlighted is a property 1,500 kilolitres of water and a 50 millimetre connection. What that actually is to highlight there is that whilst the access charges are different and higher for properties in Wellington, the main contributing factor to why the Wellington non-residential sewer charges are significantly lower is actually the usage charge. It's a very low usage charge per kilolitre in the calculation of non-residential sewer bills in Wellington. So just having a look now for the those two charges for the access charge and the usage charge, they would also apply to all the properties in the Wellington, former Wellington charging structure. So rather than having the inclining tariffs, which are all higher than $2.28, they would charge a flat usage of $2.28. That would see the typical residential bill for a property using 250 kilolitres of water as $871.75, regardless of where that property is. So that scenario, that recommended option, would see council's total income in 2023-24 for the water fund being accessed and usage actually decreased by $15,000. So we're proposing that the strong financial position of the fund, based on works done by Public Works, that we would be able to minimise the impact of harmonisation by not having an increase to the total support fund yield this financial year as part of that harmonisation process. Similar calculations that Susan, just go to the next slide. So the same, we have considered various options for, we've considered various options also for the sewer charging. Again, Public Works have done a review of council's operational costs and long-term financial planning for the sewer fund, and have proposed to council that we can put a recommended residential sewer charge of $806.25 for all residential dwellings. And as part of that, whilst it just appears to be a figure, $806.25, in calculating all sewer accounts, including residential properties, it's actually a usage charge, an access charge, kilolitres, and a sewage discharge factor, and those same factors go through to the non-residential sewer accounts. So that would have the 20mm access charge be $4.50 with a usage charge of $2.50 a kilolitre. Again, of note is that the proposed option is that council's 2023-24 income is a very minor increase, approximately $25,000, and that's just basically trying to achieve the same level as 2022-23, but because of the actual formulas used to calculate the charges, it comes out to be a slight difference. But the goal that we're aiming for is to the council's strong position in the sewer fund to not increase the charges as a one-off for 2023-24, again to aid with the harmonisation so that we don't have the traffic costs increases. So in summary, we're considering various options for harmonising the water and the sewer. We've had independent consultant and also Public Works having a look at council's long-term financial planning for the funds for the infrastructure and the current standard assets, which they review. The recommended option we've put forward is actually for a single tiered water tariff. As per the details in the report, that's based on reviews that we've done with IPART setting prices for Sydney Water, Hunter Water, and the Central Coast, in which they consider it a more modern approach to have a single tiered water tariff as opposed to the best practice policy, which is now 20 years old and having an inclining tariff. To minimise the impact of the harmonisation on customers, the recommended options we're putting forward to the council not to increase our total yield from either the water fund or the sewer fund in 2023-24, but to maintain our estimated yield for 2022-23. The net impact of that goal would be a $115,000 reduction in water fund and a $25,000 increase in sewer fund. Of note, though, is that this is based on our water consumption for 2021-22. Of course, it would be a dry year, that cost of recovery may be recovered through higher water consumption. We did do an analysis of all the water consumption in the last 5 financial years, and the last 3 have been very similar. So we chose to use 2022 to do the analysis. Collaboration style and community engagement is proposed to take place prior to the actual draft budget being on display to maximise the time for the community to consider the harmonisation and the impact on both community structures. And following council's decision, we're going to take a series of information sessions which is why we're discussing this today.
Thank you, Ms Maxwell. So stay there. I'll go back to Councillor Wright now just to see whether or not that covered your initial question, Councillor Wright.
Thanks, Mr. Mayor. Oh, look, it was really just more with respect to what activities council would specifically undertake to have that consultation with those businesses or people affected. It's more we're looking at the report we've got here in front of us, the non-residential sector of the Wellington business community look like they'll be the ones who will be hit the most and the heaviest here, and I guess it's where a lot of that community discussion needs to take place. So I guess, yeah, just if you can outline that for us.
Certainly, thanks, Councillor Wright. I'll go through from CEO to Mr. Frost.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. The purpose of council adopting or proposing adopting what we're proposing, if I can get the words right, is to enable us to go out to inform the community about that decision and the background. There is a plan that has been developed around engaging with those people who are affected at the most. That will be community meetings, a whole range of sort of proactive information sessions with the community about, and particularly those that are most affected, so that they can be really aware about what we're doing and why we're proposing to do it. And then once then they'll be in a position of understanding the challenge that we have faced in proposing the harmonisation that we are. Then when we get into a period in our budget process, which is on exhibition for 28 days, that's the period when they can put in their submissions, and that's the time when council can then consider those submissions and then make some changes if they choose to do so as a result of those submissions. And that may be, in one sense, it could be a way of shandying some of this in or slowly introducing it. There'd be a range of options depending upon what the community feedback is.
Thanks, Ross. Further questions? Councillor Wright, okay with that? Thank you. Other questions or debate, councillors? So a couple of things that are important there. Obviously, we're starting this at the beginning of February. Whatever we end up doing won't take effect till the 1st of July. Keep in mind that the two communities have gone through a rates harmonisation process, and legally, from the amalgamation, I think July 2021, Ms Maxwell, that had to come in, didn't it, the rates harmonisation process? Yeah. So that was a rates harmonisation, that was compulsory. This isn't compulsory, but it makes sense, and I think, as a few councillors have pointed out, there will be some wins and losses across the whole LGA, and that's something that we'll just have to try and basically take that feedback and get that to be as even as possible, and keep in mind that total income, as Ms Maxwell has pointed out there, $115,000 negative from the water fund, $25,000 positive. So overall, there'll be $90,000 less income across those two based on those same usages there. So it's not as if we're trying to get extra money from the community, it's really just trying to even that out. So there'll be a chance over the next 4.5 months to have some of those further discussions with the various residents and then come to a final decision for the budget. So being no further questions, no further comments, councillors? No? Thank you, Ms Maxwell, for your presentation. So I put that, and again, this isn't making a decision, this is just to put this out on public exhibition, or really just going out, sorry. Yeah, so just start that consultation process. I put that now. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. Next item, councillors, is CCL 23/19, Local Government Elections 2024. Seems too early to be talking about those, but we must do this in a timely fashion. To be run by New South Wales Electoral Commission. Can I have someone move that, please, that report? Thank you, Councillor Goff, seconded by Councillor Chowdhury. Councillor Goff, do you wish to speak to that? Okay, any discussion or debate, councillors, about this particular item? Councillor Ivey.
I thought Councillor Black might have something anyway. Look, obviously it's a big cost, $638,000, but it is a necessary evil, I presume. I know that informally we were discussing that we try to do it ourselves, and I remember the last election going through a list of councils that did actually undertake the election process or conduct the electoral process themselves, and so it can be done. But I gather the people that know much more than I do that really it would be a nightmare, and that we probably just have to put up with the lesser of two evils, which is paying the Electoral Commission come somewhere up towards $750,000 for them to elect 11 councillors. Thank you.
Yes, correct, Councillor Ivey. Any further discussion or debate, councillors? The former General Manager Tony Kelly, not the Wellington Tony Kelly, the now passed away former Dubbo General Manager Tony Kelly, I remember talking to him about having run an election a long time ago, we're talking several decades ago, and it's a pretty ugly experience for an organisation that's not set up and designed to run an election, and then all the accusations that get thrown around about people that are elected, that of course Tony got his mates elected. I'm saying it's an accusation, I'm not saying that happened, but it is very much a poison chalice if you choose to go down that path. I'm sure we could do it cheaper, but do we really want to be involving ourselves so far out of what we do as a council? That's a decision for councillors, but at the moment, if we go ahead with this, the New South Wales Electoral Commission will be engaged to run that election in September next year. No further discussion or debate. I put that. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. Next item, CCL 23/20, proposed road closures, road corridors adjacent to Dubbo Regional Airport. Can someone move that, please? Thank you, Councillor Etheridge, seconded by Councillor Wells. Discussion or debate, councillors? There being none, I put that. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. Next item, CCL 23/21, Local Government Disaster Recovery Grant. Can I have someone move that way, please? Thank you, Councillor Black, seconded by Councillor Mann. Discussion or debate, councillors? Councillor Black.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Just to say that this money is much needed. It's a very substantial sum of money which council would not be able to afford really to cover ourselves without slashing some services somewhere. So to get the local government area back up and happening again, this money will come very handy. Thank you.
Councillor Black. Any other discussion? Councillor Ivey.
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I'd speak in favour of it. There are substantial funds there, being a bit parochial, there are some substantial funds there for Wellington, but at the same time, certainly mainly through the Bell River, Wellington really did suffer very bad flood damage. So I think it is fair that a higher proportion that might be just on a pro rata basis go to this Wellington area, because certainly the local community has been very badly affected by those floods within really the last 6 months, going back 12 months, but probably the last 6 months is when most of the damage is done. And I'd commend the staff on obtaining that money, and also just the allocation of it, I think seems to be very fair. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ivey. Any further discussion or debate, councillors? Sorry, the CEO just wants to make a small comment here.
And councillors, you probably will have picked it up in the papers, but this is very distinct from essential infrastructure, which is funded differently. So we do get assistance for road assets and what have you through a different mechanism. So this is about the livability, the community type infrastructure. So it is very distinct.
Thank you, CEO. So nothing further, councillors. I've put that. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. Next item, CCL 23/22, questions on notice from Councillor Showery. There's no need to move or do anything with that. They're questions that have been asked by Councillor Showery, and the idea of that obviously is there's a formal answer for those particular questions in there, so there's no need to comment, Councillor Showery. If you wish to make comments on that, I'd probably do it in the questions, comments and matters of urgency, but they're questions that Councillor Showery was interested in the answers for, and the answers have been given there. So a good use of that particular part of our code of meeting practice. So the next item on the agenda is CCL 23/23, comments and matters of urgency. So now that I've said that, Councillor Showery, I'll start at you. So away you go.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to really congratulate Australia Day Committee, Wellington and Dubbo, and the Dubbo Regional Council staff done a fantastic job, and there was a lot of people like came to that both event, and there was a lot of positive comment have been in both event, and I received a lot of good comment from the community. So I really thank you all. And plus, we have a new residence night is coming on 15th of February, 5:30 in Dubbo, Old Dubbo Girls. I'll request all the like a community who is new in town, please come. It is a great network session, and don't miss out. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Chowdhury. Councillor Goff.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Welcome back everyone for 2023 and I hope we all have a productive year. Just make a few comments about Australia Day. I was on the Wellington Australia Day committee and I thought it all went very well. Couple of good feedback so far. We'll have a debriefing, when's that, next week? But I thought it was really, really, really lovely and how our community came together and actually supported it. I'm really thankful that Wellington gave it a go and hopefully we can make it bigger next year. What else has happened? Councillor Ivey and I and the Mayor arrived late after cooking. We were at the Senior Citizens today. Also, it was lovely. We got to see the Senior Citizens of Wellington and they had us over for lunch. Councillor Ivey and I cooked it. But yeah, we really want to encourage the seniors to stay active and keep contributing back to our community. So it was just really lovely to say thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Goff. Councillor Mann.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. I just want to commend you on the initiative of the mayoral podcasts that we conducted over the Christmas period. And I got a couple of very nice comments from people who thought it was just a different way to look at things. The questions may have been quite scripted and all the rest of it, but I guess that's the only way you can herd us together to get us going in the same direction. So I thought it was a good initiative and some feedback I got was pretty positive, so well done. And obviously while we've been meeting, our region's getting absolutely smashed by some big hailstorms and windstorms and I understand Dubbo has been fairly well hit and it sounds like there's been a fair bit come through here as well, so take care everyone on the road and I hope there's no injuries or major damage sustained in this last few hours. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Mann. Councillor Etheridge.
No, thank you, Mr Mayor.
Councillor Ivey.
Well, guess what? I'm going to talk about Australia Day. But, just very anecdotally, again, I'd reinforce the comments that have been made before from Councillor Goff. A couple of things, just anecdotal bits that a former councillor actually rang me and said, look, I just wanted to tell you that I actually came along and attended the ceremony, perhaps a little bit under sufferance. He said I wasn't in favour of the idea, but I thought just since I was invited as a former councillor I would come, and I'm just ringing up to say that you won me over. He said it was fantastic, and he said I'm very much in favour of that, the evening before for the ceremony and preserving Australia Day, still preserving the 26th of January, but just making the presentation at an evening event that involves the whole community. And on the other an illustration of that, another little anecdotal bit was that the Wellington Croquet group said they came along, most of them came along to the ceremony on the evening and said, righto, we've got Australia Day tomorrow, what are we going to do? And so they went down to Teamsters Park, down at Montefiores, played croquet and had an Australia Day barbecue for lunch. And really that was just, again, what we're trying to encourage, that yes, we're not taking it away from Australia Day, the 26th of January. We want to recognise the day, but we want to recognise it in a different way. And again, as I have said and written about, again, from an Indigenous point of view, if I was an Indigenous person, I wouldn't want to change the date. I'd want to absolutely keep the 26th of January because I would want the whole of Australia to recognise what it means to Indigenous people. And by saying, okay, this is what we've got to do to recognise it, this is what went on before, then don't change the date, keep that day, but make people recognise it for what it was. And I think we can do that. I mean, again, I take that example of Anzac Day. What's Anzac Day? You go along to the dawn service or the service in the midday, and you remember all the fallen soldiers, you remember the heartache, you remember the absolute suffering, you remember what a disaster it was. And then the second part of the day is most people go out and play two-up and get drunk. And, you know, it's really a sort of a dichotomy of a day. It's a recognition of what went wrong, but it's also a day to celebrate what is good. And I think if we can just do our little bit to try to get that meaning of Australia Day into our community, that's a recognition of everything that was bad that went on before, but now a recognition of everything that's good, which we as a united community can capitalise on, then we've achieve something. So again, and I might say that the other thing I would say is the ambassador our Australian ambassador for Wellington was absolutely over the moon. He thought the reception he got, the work that he was able to do, and the contacts that he made, he said it was just mind blowing. He was in his 15th year as an ambassador, and he thought this was the highlight. So I think that was a great thing for the organisers. And again, as I said on the day, thank you very much to the staff too. I think it was a real collaborative effort. It was great. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Ivey. Councillor Wells.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. It's not a surprise I'm going to talk about 26th of January as well. I suppose my lens is slightly different to my colleague, counterpart, Councillor Ivey. Just reminding people that no other country in the world celebrates the day that pain and other actions occurred. I have my own views, but I'm very open to debate. So I think the thing that I would really welcome is that I think the actions we took for this year were a really great step in the right direction, and it's got everybody talking. And so the conversation is happening, and people are, researching and discussing it, and that to me is a positive move in the right direction. I enjoyed both ceremonies. It was really good to come to the Wellington ceremony and see a couple of First Nations people receive some awards, one of whom I've worked very close with the alcohol and other drugs campaign for the rehab centre, and just to see them receive acknowledgement for the work that they've done in that space was tremendous in my view. Equally enjoyed the Dubbo ceremony. I have to say I quite enjoyed the poem by the Mayor. It's really, really enjoyable. And have to also say that I was very proud of the speech that Councillor Burns, my brother, presented on the day. And I'm hoping that those types of things will only get better in the future. I can't believe that today is the 9th of February already. Like, oh my gosh, where is the year going so fast? So yes, it's our first council meeting back in 2023. And just not long ago, we voted on the elections for 2024, and it feels like time is just speeding past us. So, just making a note of that, I suppose. I do wanted to make a reference to my ongoing concern and disappointment with the lack of notice or no information around the Alcohol and Other Drugs Rehabilitation Centre or the landing or where we've gone with that, no tender, so it's still really disappointing. The worry for me is that there's been a considerable amount of lives impacted and affected by no information that we could have done something. It's been more than 2 years now since the notice of the state dollars for the alcohol and other drugs facility, and still nothing. So just wanted to say my disappointment. What I am happy about is to see that they're pushing forward with the Youth Quarry Court, and it's a really important process that we do that well. Being involved in some of the thinking with Magistrate Duncan and how we get that sorted and get the right people to the table to support the services when children, young people are going before the magistrate. So that's really interesting. I don't know what's happening with the microphone there, but that's okay. So I just wanted to flag that. And at the same time, there's the childcare list that's related to children that are in foster care is going through the same motions kids going into court. Did want to make a mention about not yesterday, the day before, was 2023's Youth Council Committee meeting, the first of 2023. It was really good to see we've had some extra people come along and join. We've been losing somebody who we've been out of town. Just to see the motivation and the people really wanting to bring the Youth Council to have, I don't know, that was probably what I was going to say, but I was really impressed. Walking away from the Youth Council committee meeting this week, I was impressed impressed by the fact that there's a drive and there's really interest in terms of how the youth can impact on what Dubbo Regional Council is going to be looking at in strategic planning. I wanted to know where does the youth fit in the 2040 Dubbo Regional Council strategic plan. So I hope they still keep bringing that strong voice to the meeting. Other than that, happy New Year, everybody. Thank you. Bye.
Thank you, Councillor Wells. Councillor Black.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. Just a couple of quick comments. Like Councillor Martin said, it looks like a huge clean-up job in Dubbo after the big storm there, and probably in Wellington here from what we could hear outside before. The Indian Miner and Starling trapping program has been going very well in Dubbo. I note that on Facebook, Mark Stacey is the Starling trapping king. It looks like he's got the secret formula worked out, and I commend all the people involved with that. I've been banging on about this pretty much every council meeting in the comments section. As Councillor Wells said, the rehab centre in Dubbo, hopefully that gets announced very soon. It was announced on the line of 8 years ago in 2015 by Troy Grant. It was plans have nearly been finalised in an election campaign. It's only 8 years. The drug court, the youth pre-court, the rehab centre, all fought for by the previous council, and it shows just what councils can achieve when they really put their mind to it for great social change. And finally, I note that council received $5 million recently for some road grants. I heard the Mayor of Narromine, Craig Davies, on the radio this morning saying that his council, Narromine Shire Council, received $3 million and they've got a $50 million backlog. I then went hunting around and found that the $220 million that was given to 35 councils in Sydney, bearing in mind that Dubbo has 2,800 kilometres or thereabouts of roads that we maintain, Blacktown Council got $16.5 million for 1,400 kilometres of road. What have we got? Hawkesbury Council got $11.5 million for just over 1,100 kilometres of road. The Hills Council, $11 million for 1,000 k's of road. So it's a shame that we didn't get that sort of money here, because driving over to Mudgee and Yalgong on the weekend, we really need it along those Saxo, Kinbella, all around there. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Black. Councillor Burns.
Thank you, Mr Mayor. I just want to say that 26th of January as well, but I just want to say that it was a long time coming, and I feel as though we started to move towards oneness in the country. So hopefully in a few years, if we can continue amalgamating our celebration / survival, there'll be a lot more people involved, and it'll be one of them. But it'll always be, 26 will always be a day of mourning. So, I'm not sure about how to deal with the date. I've got the dates for that, but I think we're on the right path. I just wanted to say that. Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Burns. Councillor Wright.
Thanks, Mr Mayor. No, nothing from me apart from saying just stay safe on the road on the way home. Councillors, if you're travelling, it's a wild night. That's all from me. Thanks.
You obviously knew something we didn't know by staying back at home. Just very quickly, going on from what Councillor Goff talked about today with the expert barbecuing that Councillor Ivey and Councillor Goff took care of, thank you. There was an invitation there for the Croquet Club to come along and participate, so I'll let you know when we've got that event on, and I'll invite all councillors along, because they would love to see us along there at the Croquet Club playing some croquet with them, and indoor bowls at the Senior Citizen Centre as well. So I'll let you know when we plan that event and invite you all along. But, and I'm sorry, it has been mentioned a few times, but Australia Day was, I think from a community perspective, very well received. I think the community of Wellington really appreciated the fact that we had 7 councillors down here as part of the event. I think that was very well received. I think they appreciated the fact that Councillor Ivey basically ran the event from the council perspective down in Wellington, which I think was appropriate, and I think that went very well. And in Dubbo we had 8 councillors there, so that was very well received as well. And I did mention before that Andrew Giles, the Immigration Minister, the one that is responsible for the change from next year or this year, but it was too late for this year. But we did talk to him at Parliament House yesterday, and we did make mention of the fact that we had the event as a twilight event and how well that was received and that flexibility that we'll have next year. And so one thing that I think will be very important, I know Ms Wade is working on a survey to go out to our residents as soon as possible, both in Dubbo and Wellington, to see how it was received, because we've got more flexibility for next year. And to Councillor Burns' point, what does that look like? I can't tell you what the answer is. Councillor Burns doesn't know what the answer is, but the answer is we're making some changes in the right direction, and we'll keep fine-tuning that. But I think the feedback we'll get from the community will be able to dictate that, and we'll have more flexibility in what we do next year. So I think that's a very exciting thing. We also met with the Minister, Krista McBain, as well yesterday, and one of the things we really pushed there was in terms of energy and roads and how we can take advantage of our renewable energy zone here to try and deliver some better roads in the region. Some of that is state government, but actually getting the federal government on board there as well is important, and we'll have some further discussions with Christy around that. She's certainly got ears that are very open to see how we can further progress that, and I think that's an exciting opportunity we have in this area, because roads are damaged everywhere, but there's not a renewable energy zone everywhere. So if we can somehow work out how we can get that to benefit our community here, I think that's a really good thing. Thank you, councillors. Now we've got the next items will be under Section 10A of the Local Government Act. The next items, CCL 23/24, 25 and 26, have been identified as likely to be discussed in a closed session of council. Can I have someone move that way, please? Thank you, Councillor Chowdhury, seconded by Councillor Wells. Before any discussion and debate, the members of the public have left now, but I was going to say we've had no applications from members of the public to make their representations regarding whether the meeting should be closed to the public. Do any members of the public who have left have any comments to make regarding the proposal to hear the items in a closed session of council? I assume the answer is no, because they're not here. Any discussion or debate from councillors about moving in a confidential component of the meeting? There being none, I put that. All those in favour? Against? Declare that carried. So we'll now move into closed session, the time being 7:03. The streaming will now be turned off. Any members of the public will be asked to leave the chamber. They've already done that. The chamber will be reopened and the live stream restarted after deliberations on the matters here, with the resolutions of council to be made public. Web streaming, just let me know when web streaming. Okay, thank you. We're back into open council. Welcome back. I will now ask the governance team leader, Ms Rouse, to read the resolutions from the confidential session of council.
Thank you, Mr Mayor.
Sorry, Ms Wade. I wasn't sure who was reading it out. My apologies.
Council resolutions for CCL 23/24, Corporate Partnership Program, Event Attraction, Expressions of Interest. Council recommends that 1, Council proceed with option C as outlined in the report. 2, that Council advise all parties involved in the expression of interest in the Apex Oval Sporting Complex and Riverside Sporting Precinct. 3, that the documents and considerations in regard to this matter remain confidential to the Council. Item CCL 23/25, financial contribution towards electrical infrastructure upgrades at the property known as Dubbo City Holiday Park. Council recommends 1, that Council agrees to provide a financial contribution for an amount detailed in this report, and B, towards electrical infrastructure upgrades as outlined in this report relating to Lot 2 on DP 1208699 by reducing the rent payable under the lease for Lot 2 on DP 1208699 as described in the report. 2, that Council engage a consultant to undertake an independent assessment of the pricing for this project, with a consultant fee being capped at $5,000. 3, that all documentation in relation to this matter remain confidential to Council. 4, that all necessary documentation relating to this matter be executed upon the seal of the Council. Item 23/26, tender for the purchase power agreement large electricity sites. council resolve, 1, that council rejects all tenders on the basis that council can achieve a more beneficial outcome by negotiation and advise all parties. 2, that the Chief Executive Officer arrange a further, more detailed workshop with the councillors and the consultant. 3, that the CEO be authorised to negotiate with tenders and market participants. 4, that this item be brought back to council for final resolution. 5, that the contents of this report and associated documents remain confidential to the council.
Thank you, Ms Wade. There are no further items for consideration of the ordinary council meeting. I declare the meeting closed at 8:10 p.m. Web streaming has now been completed. Thank you for your